honestly, 80% of marketing is done by the product. If you have kind of a book that generates that word of mouth that gets readers really excited, in your case, parents really excited to share their book with other parents and gift it to, friends and family, etc. That's marketing done for you, and that's free, and it's the best kind of marketing. The main thing you can do to achieve that is write a really great book that children are going to love and that parents are going to love as well, and that in particular is going to make them want to recommend to other people. And that's 80% of your work is there in terms of marketing.
For those of you that are here that don't know me, my name is April Cox. I am the founder and CEO of Little Labradoodle Publishing and also creator of Self-Publishing Made Simple. I have helped more than 1,600 authors to publish their books, and we love pulling these kinds of events together. There are so many folks that are starting to think about what's going on of Christmas and Christmas sales. So I was able to reach out to Ricardo Fayet. He is one of the co-founders of Readsy, and I love reading his newsletters. And every time it comes in, I find myself responding and telling him what an amazing tips that he shares. And I've interviewed Ricardo a couple of times, and it's never anything less than spectacular. So I just want to introduce Ricardo. He has agreed to be here with us and talk about the topic of preparing for holiday sales as children's book authors. And no, it's not too soon. Ricardo, would you just give a little bit of information about your background for those that don't recognize you?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me first. I am one of the 4 founders of Readsy, and that's my main background. We started the company around 10 years ago. I didn't do much before then. But yeah, in the past 10 years, I've acquired a fair amount of knowledge about the publishing industry and marketing in particular. So on top of running the marketing for Readsy, I also worked with some authors one-on-one, with a big number of authors one-on-one, to help them with their marketing and to learn a little bit everything that's involved in getting a book out there, finding first readers, and progressively growing an author brand. And that led me to write two books on marketing. First one is how to market a book or perform in a crowded market, and the second one is on Amazon ads for authors. And since then, I've kept working with a few authors here and there. So yeah, that's mostly my background, Readsy and marketing for authors.
Yeah, and I have to say that your book on marketing is my favorite of all of the self-publishing marketing books, book marketing, and I refer to it quite often, and you've done a fantastic job. I also have the Amazon ads book as well. Ricardo, why don't you tell us a little bit about what are the core things that authors need to get right for book sales in general, even outside the Christmas season, but just what are those core things that are must-haves for the marketing side?
I think the first one, the most important one, is the product itself. We're going to talk a lot about marketing, and that's a big worry for authors, but I will say that honestly, 80% of marketing is done by the product. If you have kind of a book that generates that word of mouth that gets readers really excited, in your case, parents really excited to share their book with other parents and gift it to, friends and family, etc. That's marketing done for you, and that's free, and it's the best kind of marketing. It's when readers recommend books to one another. And the only thing you can do to achieve that, there's a few incentives you can give afterwards, etc. But really, the main thing you can do to achieve that is write a really great book that children are going to love and that parents are going to love as well. And that in particular is going to make them want to recommend to other people. And that's 80% of your work is there in terms of marketing. And then comes the packaging around the product, which requires a lot of thought. So that's the book cover, back cover, the blurb, so the book description, and the title as well. All of these elements play an important role when it comes to both discoverability and consideration. So discoverability is how people are going to come across a book. And consideration is like once they come across a book, whether that it's in a brick and mortar bookstore, when they pick it up and they look at it, or online, when they look at the product page, whether they're interested in buying it or not. The main element there is going to be the cover, obviously. And then by order of importance, they're going to look for the title, the book description, the reviews, and a few other elements after that, like A+ content potentially on Amazon, the author bio, things like that. But really the most important bits are book cover, book title, and book description, and then the reviews. These are, I would say, if the product is 80% of the marketing, product plus packaging, that's like 95% of the marketing. If you get all of that right, everything else becomes so much easier, because suddenly you don't really have to push your book to people. You don't have to serve a lot of ads and talk about your book a lot, because as soon as you push it a little bit, readers will start pushing it for you, and you're going to have more influencers who want to talk about it. You're going to have more word of mouth. Your ads are going to convert better. Everything becomes easier once you kind of nail all these elements. And in particular, if you're planning for the Christmas season, you have to have that kind of product market fit, because during Christmas, readers are looking for a very particular kind of book that has a very particular kind of cover and feel about it. It has to have that Christmas feel, because otherwise you're preparing a book for a time of the season that you're kind of going to miss. So you have that sort of narrow window. I mean, now it's much bigger. It starts in September, October, but still a narrow window compared to books that have evergreen potential. So you definitely have to prepare now and focus on all those things, the product and the packaging. I think the more thought you put into it, the more iterations, the better. Don't think that, you write your product description once, your book blurb, and that's it. Now you have to probably write it, rewrite it, get feedback, write it again, and until you get to something that you think is the best one that's going to resonate most with readers.
So, Ricardo, how important is metadata? Could you explain the metadata and the importance of that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I talked about, the packaging are all elements of metadata. They're basically bits of data attached to the book that you pass on to the retailers, right? So you're going to tell the retailers, this is the title of my book. That's an element of metadata. This is the cover. That's another element of metadata. This is the book description. That's another element of metadata. And then all these appear to readers as well. So they're not just ingested by the retailers and kept in secret, they're also presented to the readers. Then there's elements of data that you pass on to the retailers, which are kind of hidden. They're only for the retailers. That's the categories that you list your book in and the keywords that you attach to your book. So these are kind of the elements of metadata that do not show up to readers. Readers don't know which 7 keywords you used on Amazon to attach to your book, but Amazon is going to use those to decide how and where to display your book, and in particular for search results. I will say that sometimes we spend a little bit too much time on keywords in terms of metadata, because we try to figure out the best keyword combinations and the best way to fill those boxes. And in my experience, if you really want to rank high on Amazon, if you want your book to show up for popular search terms on Amazon, like Christmas children's books, for example, that's super popular, super competitive keyword. If you put that in your keywords, can help, but it's not going to make a big difference. The books are going to rank at the top those are, one, sell really well, and two, usually have that in their title, their subtitle, or their series title. So the title in terms of search visibility is far more important than the keywords that you can attach to your book. So if you really want to rank for something, I would say pick the search term you really want to rank for, and ideally use that in the series, in the subtitle or the series title.
I've seen a lot of people that in a lot of books that are online that don't have a subtitle at all. Are they missing out on a key opportunity by leaving that subtitle blank?
I would say so. I would say that it really doesn't hurt to try to rank for something. I think it's more the case for nonfiction than for fiction, because in nonfiction, searches are more important than in fiction. It's rare that fiction readers are going to search for a particular book. In the case of children's books, I think it can happen a little bit more. If they're looking for, I don't know, a parent thinking about sustainability for their kids and wanting to teach that to them around Christmas, they might search for children's books or Christmas children's books about sustainability. I'm making it up, right? That's more likely to happen than someone who reads a couple of romance books a day to search on Amazon for the Viking romance, for example. Usually those kind of readers who read a lot of commercial fiction, they know what they're going to read next. They use other elements. They don't really use the search. So For certain genres, it's not that important to care about, working in keywords into your subtitle or series title. Our purposes here, I think, yeah, it plays a role, and it's definitely an opportunity to take.
So you're saying a series title is also going to help you rank higher for the keywords that you're looking for as well. Because I've had a number of folks say to me, this is the first book in my series. Should I add it? Should I create the series and put a series title now? What would be your answer? Okay, so yes, do that even before you have more than one book in a series.
Yeah, totally. You don't lose anything by doing that. If it's a series, also it's nice to signal to readers that it's a series, that if they like the book, there's going to be more. Might as well do that from the get-go. And yeah, even if there's no books afterwards, that's fine. They can come later. If you can get the second one on pre-order when you have the first one out, that's great, because people who love the first one, they can immediately pre-order the second one. But if you don't, I think you won't hurt your chances by creating the series right away. And yeah, you have another element of title metadata, as we call it, that you can use to work keywords in the series title.
Now, I've heard you say before, not all sales are equal. So could you comment a little bit on that and explain to us what kind of sales should we be looking for?
Yeah, I used that recently in a newsletter, and I think there's two elements to it. First, the timing. So you might already know that, during the first 30 days or even 60 or 90 days, still speculation on that, after book launches, retailers, Amazon and others will give you more visibility. Right during the first 30 days, while the book is on pre-order, and up to 30 days after the launch of the book can appear in hot new releases lists. So that's an added element of visibility. And on top of that, Amazon frequently sends emails to its customers recommending books that are new, that are fresh and new, etc. So freshness, newness, that's a big thing for retailers, and they like to let their readers know about new releases, which means that you want to get as many sales as possible within those first 30 days. That should be definitely one of your goals in your marketing strategy. You should plan a maximum of marketing activities within those first 30 days. If if an influencer or friend or podcaster, someone with a bit of a network tells you, we can do a promo if you want in January about your book, or like a couple months later, try to insist for that promo to happen within the first 30 days, because that's really the period during which it's the easiest to get sales, to get organic sales from the retailers. The second thing, timing-wise, to take into consideration is that you want to avoid having spikes or witch hats, as I've seen them referred. So if you have like sales like this and suddenly you have a spike and then it goes back down, you kind of want to avoid that, because that is generally seen by the retailers as brand manipulation, right? Or it's just ignored. They're like, this book gets 2 sales a day, suddenly it gets 100. Like, oh, interesting. But if the next day it goes to 2 sales a day, they're like, we're just going to ignore that. That was clearly an anomaly. And this is not a book that we want to promote because it has 2 sales a day. If suddenly you have 2 sales a day and then you go up to 10, then 20, 30, and then you go up to 50 for a few days and it goes back to 40, 30, that's what we call a bell curve. And retailers are a lot more appreciative of bell curves, because it's books that show to them that they can have a sustained medium or high level of sales. And that doesn't look like an anomaly to them. It looks like more and more people are talking about the book. This is kind of a book that's going up in the charts in an organic way. You're not trying to manipulate the rankings or anything. And suddenly that's when your ranks become a lot more sticky. So maybe instead of getting to number 100 in the store and it lasts 1 hour, you get to number 1,000 in the store, but it lasts a week, right? That's the kind of effect you want to achieve. So focus on the first 30 days and then avoid spikes. Plan your marketing activities so that you have something on one day or something the next, etc., so that not everything happens in one day. If you have a very big list, a list of maybe 10,000, 20,000 readers, don't email them all on the day of the launch. You email a part of that list on the day 1, then another part on day 2, another part on day 3. And then after a few days, you email again all those who didn't open, so that you get more juice out of the list.
How important is it to start working now on building up your mailing list? I know that's a really key area of having your organic growth of your own email list versus depending constantly on Amazon ads. But do you have any advice or feedback for those who say, gee, I'm brand new, my list is not good yet. I need to grow that. And can they still be successful? And is there time to grow now prior to the Christmas season?
Yes, I think there is time. It depends on what you have to grow your list, right? If this is going to be your first book that you're going to release, you probably don't have anything right now to grow your list. So ideally, you'd want to create something, whether that's another book, not necessarily Christmas themed. Usually, like commercial fiction authors, like authors of adult books, are going to create a short story or a novella or something like that. That's harder to do with children's books. But you can create a shorter story, maybe something like that, to give away to parents, or whatever you can think of that your target market would enjoy. If there's anything you can think of that your target market would enjoy, you can give that away for free in exchange for a sign up. Obviously, it shouldn't cost you too much money to produce, but that's how you can kind of grow your list until you release the book. But you have to have that kind of magnet, that lead magnet that you can give away in exchange for a sign up. And then once you have that, you can start spreading it around your social media. You can run ads for it on Meta. You can enter giveaways. You can create even like a giveaway using a platform like, I think, KingSumo, where people will get more entries into the giveaway by sharing it. So there's virality element baked in there. If you're familiar with those platforms and you enjoy list building, that can be a good strategy, but you got to be aware that the leads that you collect that way, they're not going to be super engaged, right? They're going to join your mailing list because you gave them something away for free. So it has to be something really related to what your target market would enjoy. But even then, you're going to attract a lot of freebie seekers, or people who just want free stuff. So it's not necessarily, the best time investment. I would probably recommend spending time really on that product and on the packaging and on all these elements, setting up your mailing list so that it's ready for people to start going in there once the book goes live. If you have other books out there already, then that's another story. For all those other books that you have out there, put something in there at the end of the book so that people can sign up to your mailing list. That's super important. You want to grow your mailing list organically as you release more books and you touch your readers. You definitely don't want to rely on, if your first book sells 100 copies, for example, you don't want to rely on Amazon to email those 100 readers when you launch your next book, because Amazon's not going to do that. You want to capture a portion of those 100 readers by putting something at the end of the book. Maybe that's a QR code or a link, or if it's an ebook saying, do you want to get an additional story about this character? Sign up to my mailing list and I'll deliver a PDF to you, or something like that. And that's kind of an offer you can make. Or I made some video to go along with this children's book, right? Some music, sorry, to go along with the children, but that you can listen to, or you can get a free audiobook if you want, making stuff up. Anything that you can give away for free along with the book in exchange for a sign up to your mailing list, that's going to be really, really, really strong, because suddenly you're going to have actual parents who purchased the book, who enjoyed the book on your mailing list. And that's the kind of readers you want to have on there.
Yeah, one of the things that has worked really well for me is having a video book that they can download that has, kind of the reading and even animating a little bit of it, which has been really fun. And that's one. And another for children's book authors that I really like is having an associated activity book with coloring and activities. And I do give that away at the end of the book for people that want to go and download the PDF version. And quite often it ends up resulting in a sale anyway, because they want the physical hard copy versus just something that they can print themselves. So those are great options for children's book authors as well. Let's talk about categories. You talked a little bit about categories and keywords being it's part of the metadata. How important is it in selecting the right categories, and what are the right categories for your book?
No, that's definitely important. Categories are very important. They're not that complicated, or at least not as complicated as they used to be. So I wouldn't want to downplay their importance, but it's fairly simple now, especially on Amazon. First, you have to select the age range for which your books are aimed. So that's really important. Select that. And then you're going to have a choice of categories. And now the categories that you can choose when you publish your book on KDP are the same ones that show up more or less on the Amazon store. So what you should do is just browse the Amazon store, look at categories. If you have a tool to analyze that, like Publisher Rocket, for example, is a nice tool. I wouldn't necessarily invest in it if you're just going to publish a one book. But if you plan on publishing more books, especially across different age ranges, different genres, then I would invest in it because it makes category research a lot easier. But otherwise, you just go on Amazon.com on the store, you go to the Kindle store and you look at the various categories that are there. And you browse through the categories and you see the various options that show up. You go as far down as possible within the subgenres and look at your options. See what kind of books are there. And ideally, you want to look at categories that are not too competitive. So categories where the first few books in there maybe don't have like millions of reviews. But you can select up to 3 categories now only. So my recommendation is pick the 3 that make the most sense. There's no real sense in picking one that's not 100% relevant just because, it seems not competitive. And so you can get to bestseller there. It's nice to have the orange bestseller tag on Amazon, but it's more of an ego stroke than anything else. So for me, categories now it's very simple. You have 3 categories, pick the ones that are most relevant for your book.
Less competitive categories are great as long as they are applicable to your book, and we move integrity and because putting your book in basket weaving isn't going to do anything for you to be number 1 in basket weaving, right? Yeah, that's fun. So you mentioned this thing about hot new releases. Could you explain a little bit about how that, how do those emails that go from Amazon saying out to people, how do we get on those? Is there any trick, or do they even publicize how they choose those that they select?
No, Amazon sends a ton of different emails and they're all affected by slightly different algorithms. The hot new releases list is just the ranking, like the Amazon bestseller rank of books that are either on pre-order or that have been launched in the past 30 days. That's the same thing. Okay. So you're going to find a lot of the same books on the Amazon bestseller list as you're going to find on the hot new releases. There's going to be a bit of overlap between the two. The higher you are on both these lists, it means the more your book is selling, obviously. And so the higher the chances that Amazon is going to pick you for a promotion or an email or something like that. There are some emails that Amazon sends saying you recently purchased a picture book about animals. Here are the top 10 new releases in that category, something like that. So these are what we call that, like the new release emails, and we believe they're powered mostly by the hot new releases list. It's not just that, but it's mostly that. So that's another element of like really why you want to concentrate your sales within those first 30 days, because you get additional visibility from that. Then there's a ton of other emails. The most common ones are emails powered by the also bots. So when you get an email from Amazon saying you might also enjoy, like you purchased this book, you might also enjoy, that's basically powered by the also bots, by the customers who bought this item also bought. That's a section that sometimes show up on product pages, not always. And it's basically if a lot of readers purchase this book and also this book, then that second book is going to show up in the first one's also bots and vice versa. It's Amazon's way of mapping how books relate to each other on the store based on customer behavior and purchase data.
Ricardo, is there a way that as we're preparing to release a new book and as we publish that book that we can influence those also bots?
Yeah, absolutely. Also bots is something you want to take great care of. And the best way to influence them is by getting your books in the hands of the right readers, right? By getting what I call the right kind of sales. So if the first thing you do when your book is on pre-order or launches is contact your whole extended family so that they buy the book to get as many sales as possible, but it turns out your family doesn't really purchase children's books, maybe none of them have kids or whatever, then suddenly your book is going to start showing up in the also bots of whatever those people in your family read, right? So maybe it'll start showing up in also bots for romance books or thriller books or mystery books, which you don't want. You definitely don't want that, because Amazon will start thinking, this is a book that's for thriller readers, right? So if that happens a lot, Amazon will actually email that audience of thriller readers saying this could be a book for you, and they're going to be like, what? This is not for me. And if Amazon sends a recommendation and no one acts on it, Amazon will never promote your book again, right? Because they just wasted an email basically, or they just wasted a recommendation. So you definitely want to avoid that. So get your book in the hands of the right readers. All your early marketing activities should be aimed at readers whom you know are readers of your genre. our parents who are actively buying children's books. There's a number of channels you can use for that. One that I love is Amazon ads while the book is on pre-order. They're going to be more expensive. You're not going to turn a profit because your book is on pre-order, so it's harder to get a sale. So you're going to spend a lot more money than normal to get that sale, but you can really be very precise in your targeting thanks to Amazon ads. You can target individual products on the store. And so you know that the sales you're going to get from there, they're going to be from readers who looked at those product pages that are directly relevant to yours, or who searched for authors or book titles are directly relevant to yours. So I like running Amazon ads while the book is on pre-order, just to build out the also books before the release, knowing that I will not really recoup my money on those ads.
Okay, so that just prepares so that once the book is available, it does sell better to those folks, and the also bots are connected. Yep. I love the idea of doing pre-orders, and I do that with my authors as well. How far ahead do you think is reasonable or appropriate to put your book on pre-order?
There's no maximum, I'd say. I mean, I think there's a maximum of 90 days for Amazon, but there's no secret recipe, right? It is true that Amazon doesn't reward pre-order sales as much as other retailers will. For other retailers, the sooner you have your book on pre-order on them, the better. Other retailers love pre-orders. They love them, and they will reward them a lot. So I know authors who specialize on selling wide platforms, both ebook and print, and they get their books on pre-order as early as possible, like up to a year in advance, because the more sales, basically on other retailers, if you get a sale while on pre-order, that sale will count for the algorithms on the launch date. So if you manage to get 500 sales over the course of 3 months while on pre-order, those 500 sales are going to hit at launch, right? And they're not going to count as a spike. Like, obviously they're smart, they know it's pre-order sales. So that gives a really big ranking boost on those other retailers. On Amazon, it doesn't really work like that. It gives a little bit of a boost at launch, but not that much. But it also doesn't hurt you. So I would say as soon as you have your kind of cover, your product description, you have everything, set up the pre-order.
You were mentioning the whole idea of going wide. Would you mind commenting on, KDP exclusive, KDP select versus going wide? What's your recommendation there?
Yeah, so first of all, it's important to say that the discussion on like KDP select versus wide is only applicable to ebooks, right? I expect a lot of you are going to sell potentially more in print than in ebook. So even if you're in KDP select, you can have your print books wide. So you can have your print books on KDP prints, you can have your print books on Ingram Spark or on Draft to Digital Print, wherever you want them. You can sell them direct as well to your website, right? For ebooks, Amazon gives you some perks if you choose to be exclusive with them. The main one being that your ebook will be available through Kindle Unlimited. Now, I honestly don't know how big Kindle Unlimited is in children's books. I would guess that it's definitely not as important as in adult commercial fiction books. But you might get a few, reads and a few parents discovering you through their Kindle Unlimited account. It can happen. I think, April, you know better than I do whether KU can be good or not for parents for children's books.
What we've found is that it gives you those promotional opportunities to make your book free and to, use that as a way of blasting a bunch of, promotional things through Book Club and, other Fussy Librarian and other things like that. So by joining with the KDP Select, you get those 5 days per that 90 period. I do recommend it for that, but I'm just wondering, I don't have as much experience with the going wide, and is there something that we might be missing there?
I think it's worth experimenting with, because usually the number one reason for being with Select is that inclusion in Kindle Unlimited, right? The KDP countdown deal and free promo you get once every 90 days, they're really nice because they're easy to plan. And if you do a countdown deal, you get the 70% royalty, even if you discount the book to $0.99 during the 7 days. So it's a little bit more money that comes in. And Amazon does give those deals a little bit more visibility on the store. But you can also, when you're wide, you can also do promos. right? When you're wide, you have even more control over the price of your book because you can put it free whenever you want. The ebook in particular, you just put it. Any other retailer except Amazon will let you list your book for free, your ebook for free, and then you can just go back to Amazon and do what we call the price matching. So contact KDP support, say my book is free on Apple. Would you please price match on Amazon? And usually within 24 hours, I'll set your book to zero on Amazon as well. So you can do those kind of promos if you're wide as well. You just lower the price of your book everywhere for 7 days, and that's it. It takes a little bit more effort and time in that you have to modify that price in several places. Sometimes they don't lower it at the same time. Sometimes you have to ask Amazon for price matching if you're doing a free promo, for example, etc. But then if you plan everything well and you have the book discounted on all stores within those 7 days you've planned, you can use Fussy Librarian, you can use Robin Reads, you can use all those discount or promo newsletters in the same way as if you were doing a countdown deal or free promo. So it would be worth trying. I honestly, again, don't know how many parents are going to buy children's books, children's ebooks through Apple, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, etc.
So Amazon ads, how critical are they for the success, especially launching as a new author?
I think they're not necessary in the sense that you don't have to run Amazon ads if you, for whatever reason, hate Amazon ads, but they're very easy to set up and they can work really well, especially in nonfiction and children's books. I think they're, that combination of like easy to set up and usually good results. If you've got that product and packaging right, which is 90% of your marketing, then those Amazon ads are probably going to work like a charm. So I definitely recommend them because of that, and because you can really narrow the targeting, narrow the readers that you want to go after. You can, as I said, like you can target individual titles, author names, searches, etc. So you can really get the kind of sales you want, and you get those sales on the main retailer. So you grow your rank on the main retailer, which then helps a lot with organic visibility. So that's why I think, in particular for children's books, they're a really, really good deal. And they're also not as competitive there as I think in other adult fiction genres.
How do you go about generating if you don't have a website yet? Any recommendations there, Ricardo?
Yeah, I mean, first up, like a website is fairly easy to create. But if you don't want to go through the trouble of creating one and you have something to give away, you can use BookFunnel. So BookFunnel is a great tool to build your list and to collect leads, right? So what BookFunnel does is if you have a piece of content that you can give away, whether that's a short audiobook, a short book, a short workbook, whatever it is, you can create a landing page for it. You upload to BookFunnel the PDF, the EPUB, and potentially the movie of that piece of content, or the audio file if it's an audiobook, etc. And then you create a landing page on BookFunnel for it with the cover, a little bit of description for it, and then a call to action, join my mailing list to get this free. And then you can connect BookFunnel to an email marketing software. So even if you don't have a website, I would definitely recommend you getting an email marketing software. MailerLite is one I typically recommend. ConvertKit is really good as well. It's a little bit more expensive. So these are the two I would probably recommend. Then we can get into a discussion of like which others could be good, but yeah.
Hey, Ricardo. Thank you for joining us, by the way. I would like your 80-20 on what we should focus on. Like, what 20% of the process should we focus on to get 80% of the output? Like, if you were to give me a top 5, like, number 1 would probably be create a quality product that people want to buy.
Yeah.
And number 2 would be cover. What would be the other 3 or 4 things you would say rank at the very top that we should focus on?
Yeah, you got the number 1 right. I would add to that it's not just a great book that readers will love, but something that has a proper market, that sits in a nice niche in the market, right? It's not just, I get a lot of like, my children's book is amazing because like parents love it, but you need to go further than that. You need to go like, why? Like, does it have that one super cute animal character that children love because of this quality that it has, right? So you need to dive a little bit deeper into what makes your product unique, great, unique, and so appealing to that very specific segment of parents? Are they going to want to buy the book because they're into sustainability, or they're into this or that, and they want to teach that to their kids? So try to kind of pinpoint the target audience. Then yeah, the cover, the product description, the reviews. Make sure like have a plan for getting a good number of reviews at launch. And then the fifth one is going to be figuring out a channel at launch that you're going to focus on, whether that's going to be Amazon ads or Facebook ads or TikTok. Maybe there's a bunch of parents on TikTok or Instagram, wherever. And that is something you'll want to research before the book launches. You cannot, launch the book and say, time to learn about Amazon ads, because it's already a little bit too late. So run those Amazon ads well on pre-order and see how they work. Set up your TikTok or Instagram account or whatever about the series way in advance. Start following people, start interacting, start learning about those algorithms, etc. So kind of pick that one channel that you think has really good potential because people told you it works, or because you personally love TikTok and you know how it works, and focus on that. With that, you're sorted, I would say.
Sandra Tanner says, if you publish through Amazon KDP, should you also publish through Ingram Spark? So it's a little unique with us because we have children's books that are, 32, 36 pages or so. So we're not able to do hardcover print on demand through KDP. And so by using something like Ingram Spark, we're able to take advantage of getting that, so that's one piece of it. But how do you feel about Ingram Spark's distribution versus going, exclusively letting Amazon distribute the book?
I would say for the print book, you have no choice, right? So it's on Ingram Spark, it's sorted. For the ebook, it's a discussion we had previously on like KDP versus wide. Right. I would encourage the whole group to try publishing the ebook wide. The print book is going to be wide anyway with Ingram, right? Yes. So the ebook might as well be wide, I think, especially for the main purposes that you use KDP Select for, which you can easily replicate while being wide. I would not advise using Ingram Spark for ebook distribution because they're far from the best option. I would recommend Draft to Digital for the wide distribution. Publish the ebook direct with KDP, and then publish the ebook to all the other stores with Draft to Digital. And if you have extra time on your hands and you don't mind having another retailer, you can reach Google Play direct as well. Draft to Digital does not reach Google Play. How many sales you're going to get through Google Play? Probably not a lot, but if it's 10 a year, that's 10 new readers. So, and it takes a few minutes to set it up.
Jenna asks, outside of Amazon and your website, what are other sales channels that are effective in selling books, in your opinion?
Anything that you hear that's worked for other authors out there. Facebook ads, I've heard it. They're less. I mean, I've seen fewer success stories of Facebook ads for children's books in particular. I've seen more success stories around Amazon ads. But everyone's on all demographics and generations are either on Facebook or Instagram, and you can reach both sides through meta advertising. So you can try that. I mentioned TikTok. A bunch of different demographics are on TikTok right now, so you can try that as well. There are a bunch of podcasts out there for parents. That's another avenue. There are a bunch of influencers, blogs, etc. for parents. You can try that as well. So one thing I really like is like building connections with other authors, which is what you're doing through this group, right? Yes. But the more connections you have with other children's books authors out there, the better, because you can start doing things like group promotions, cross promotions through your newsletter swaps, etc. Mm-hmm. And if each of you has like 100 readers and you all kind of cross promote, suddenly you can end up with 1,000 readers, right? Just by pooling your resources and cross promoting. So yeah, keep doing that.
Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is don't underestimate the amount of sales you can make in your local area with all of the events that are going to be coming around Christmas. So now is the time to start researching, talk to people at the Chamber of Commerce to find out where the events are, what's going on, connect with your like local writers groups and things like that, and sign up because booths go fast and you can sell a lot of books around the Christmas season at church events and all kinds of events that are geared for selling of books at Christmas time. Books
That's
and
a really good idea.
kinds of other things. Yeah. And you're a local celebrity in that case too, which is really nice because they're like, oh my gosh, I get to meet the author. They, especially little kids, they just love the idea that they can actually have a picture taken or talk with an author who's written a book, especially if it's a character that they really love. Jackie says, if you use KDP Select, should you market the free book that's for 90 days, for months, or mostly during your book launch?
I would say it becomes available every 90 days. So I would do it once every 90 days. I would definitely plan the first one to happen within those first 30 days. But then as soon as you have the opportunity to do a price promo, do it. It's one of the best ways to, get traffic. You'll notice that the effectiveness of those declines because at the end of the day, especially if you're using the same promo sites like Trusty Librarian, FreeBooksy, etc., you're hitting the same audiences. I mean, there's new readers who join those sites every day, but overall, you will be hitting the same audiences. So by the seventh time they've seen your book, they're going to be less excited about it. But every time you do it, you're going to see spikes in sales and free downloads, and that's always worth it. It's almost always worth the money.
Press releases effective. Do you think that press releases make a difference, Ricardo?
No, I'm not a big proponent of press releases. I think so. Press releases are the typical service that a bunch of vanity presses and somewhat dodgy marketing companies out there are going to try to sell you on. That's because it's very easy to create and it's almost worthless. So I wouldn't bother about it. Then we can discuss about, whether it makes sense to pitch the media and whether it's likely that you're going to get an article, etc. But even if you do pitch the media, etc., it's not with a press release that you're going to go anywhere.
Yeah. So why don't we just talk about that just for a moment? Because pitching the media and getting media attention is something that not only, a lot of people push from the publicity and marketing perspective, but it's also very expensive to hire someone to do publicity for you or to be your publicist, upwards of $2,500 a month plus. And usually they want a few months of a commitment. So, what would you recommend for those that are just starting with regard to focus on media?
I'd recommend not to focus on media. For me, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of money, as you mentioned. And we have publicists on Reedsy, right? Some of them are really good. So it would be in my best interest to tell you to go hire them, but it's going to be a waste of time and money, honestly. Think about it this way. There's only a select number of publications and places that really sell books. Most of them are not even traditional media anymore. They're going to be blogs, podcasts, etc., like places that parents actively follow. I think the CEO of the New York Times got a review about his latest book in the New York Times, and if you go look at the book on Amazon, it has less than 50 reviews, I think. So even a review in the New York Times doesn't sell books anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really care about that.
Yeah, I've heard that from a number of authors too, that I had one that even got onto the Oprah show, where she had her book on Oprah, and one that went to Kelly, and they said it didn't drive sales. It didn't drive sales at all. It does help get people to know about you a little bit. I suppose it elevates your profile. If you can say on your website that you've been featured on those things, perhaps that's a feather in your cap. But media doesn't seem to directly impact sales. That's been
it's a great ego boost, I think.
Yeah, exactly. What about writing blogs and actually, I always say serving the people that you're selling to, that your book is made for. Is that something that you would recommend, trying to find ways or opportunities at serving that community?
Absolutely. I mean, serving your reader community is the best thing you can do in whichever way you deliver value. I think that writing blog posts is really the best way to serve the community, in that if you want them to come across the blog post, they're not going to subscribe to your RSS feed or come check your blog every day, right? To see if you publish something new. So you need to let them know about it. the best way to let them know about it is going to be through a newsletter. What's even easier than doing that, just put it in the newsletter, right? Unless it's some very, very long piece of content, which I doubt, considering your target market, just put it in the newsletter. If you're going to create content to serve your readers, do it in the newsletters or in your reader group. If you create a reader group on social media or on social media where it can have a little bit more repercussion. I'm not saying that writing blog posts all the time and building an audience on the blog is impossible, but it certainly is a lot more difficult than just building your email list or building a following on social media. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Somebody asked about if you have any course recommendations. You have a lot of courses on Reedsy, that many of which are free. So I'd like to get you to talk about that. But there's a lot of free tools on Reedsy. If you could talk a little bit more about that, because I think many of these authors could benefit from the tools and the resources that are available.
Yeah, the main ones I think that are relevant are the courses you mentioned. So they're free 10-day email courses. We have a bunch of them on marketing. I've written several of those myself. So like quick one on how to market a book. I think we've got one on children's books marketing in particular, written by a marketer. One on Amazon ads, one on Amazon algorithms, etc. Price promotions as well. So just take all of those. I would say they're free. They're just going to clutter your inbox a little bit, but you go through them at your own pace, and that's it. And in terms of other free tools, yeah, we've got a free formatting tool, but it's not really going to be as relevant for children's books. It's going to be better for middle grade or YA or adult. We've got a character name generator that's free as well if you want to play with it. We've got a list of book promotion sites. So I think I saw in the comments that which promo sites were best. We've got a tiered list of book promo sites. Let me pull up the link here. I'll put it in the chat here. So the ones in tier 1 are going to be the best ones, then the ones in tier 2, et cetera, et cetera. We've got one of book review blogs as well. So if you want to do some PR and contact bloggers, you can use that as well. Again, I think that a lot of the time you invest in PR is not always worth it, but you can try it. We've got one of booktube channels as well. So basically, if you go to Reedsy and you click on tools, and in the top bar, you're going to get a big list of tools, and all of those are free. So take your pick from those and see which ones can be helpful to you.
And one of the things Reedsy is most known for is pre-vetting people that you can trust to be able to handle things like editing and all of the people that you need to create that high quality book. Ricardo, anything you wanted to add on regard to that?
Yeah, as I said, like 85 to 90% of your marketing is product plus packaging. So the more you invest in that, the better your results are going to be when time comes to market the book. So, whenever you're looking for editors, cover designers, interior designers, illustrators, etc., you can take a look at Reedsy. I mean, I'm sure you guys have a ton of other resources as well at your disposal. But if you're looking, I don't know, you've got everything figured out, but for whatever reason, Ingram Spark isn't accepting your file because there's some wonky formatting going on, you can find someone on Reedsy who's going to solve that for you, like an interior typesetter. So whatever kind of small service that you're looking for, usually you're going to find someone on Reedsy who can do that. And as you mentioned, they're all vetted by us. We accept less than 5% of people who apply to be listed on our marketplace. We're very careful about the people we get there. So they're not the cheapest out there, but there's that quality guarantee that comes with us.
So I want to thank you all for your active participation. And Ricardo, as always, it is such a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to do this with us.
No, thank you so much for having me. Sorry again for the mix-up and the delay, but glad you guys waited until I showed up.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.